What's going on, ParaTruthers? Welcome to a brand new episode of ParaTruth Reborn. This is a pre recorded show on 107.7 FM New Orleans, 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast, and United Public Radio Network. My name is Justin,
And I'm Eric.
and we are so happy to be back with you again. Spooky season is technically over, but for us, the spooky season never ends.
It's true.
Today, we are talking to Chanda Parkinson about her book, The Book of Ritual Baths. Make sure I get that title right.
Well, let's get right there if you're watching YouTube.
Chanda utilizes her spirit gifts, tarot, and astrology to support others through transition in life with clarity and deep compassion. Author of the award-winning Meditations for Psychic Development, Practical Exercises to Awaken Your Sixth Sense, Chanda is fiercely committed to mentoring others in the discovery of their own spiritual gifts. Chanda, welcome to ParaTruth Reborn. How's it going?
It's going great. It's so happy to be here and talk to you guys this evening.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one because I mentioned last week that I use bath as a meditation, just a salt bath now. So it was interesting to see a book written by for something like that. But what got you into writing this book? What got you started with it?
Yeah, well, besides the topic being super duper personal, I've developed a really cool relationship with my publisher and my acquisitions editor who occasionally will spitball ideas, and when I'm in between projects, talk about what their readers are interested in, what is like really popular right now, but also what kind of merges with my own practices and passions. And this, the Book of Ritual Baths isn't something that I practice professionally. It's a very personal process, but I was intrigued by the project because it was going to give me the opportunity to actually interview other professionals in the field, do some exploration, travel around and try out some things, and actually kind of gather the research for this book. So it was a very different entry point for the book, and I got super excited about it. I birthed twice in a tub, and I think that is an incredibly sacred process and a very ritualistic process. And so, like I said, I have very personal relationship with ritual bath, which I learned talking to people about it. Lots of people have a personal relationship with that as well, and it means different things to different people. So, yeah.
Well, one thing that I find really fascinating about this, now, mind you, like Justin and I have been kind of in this field for roughly 20 plus years. And it was only 2 years ago that a friend of mine, a Reiki master, who actually introduced me to the idea of ritualistic bathing, primarily to cleanse the day away, and reset. And I was like, how come I never even thought about that, let alone learned about it? So it was like kind of new to me. So of course, yeah, reading through this book was really fascinating just to learn the various aspects of what is potentially possible when it comes to ritualistic cleansing and bathing. But now you had mentioned here a couple times about your personal journey and how it personally or how it's personal to you. But what specifically, how specifically, I guess, does it relate to your personal spiritual journey? And like, how did it all begin for you? And what led you on this kind of ultimate path to, aside from just writing the book, but just to learn and grow in the idea of ritual baths?
Well, I had a similar experience to you several years back where I was actually in counseling for anxiety, and my counselor suggested that I consider including some type of soothing bath practice, and pointed me in some different directions. And so initially it was an exploration around like how to balance my nervous system. So then it suddenly sparked this idea like, oh my gosh, there are hugely physical impacts, to ritual bath that that I didn't even realize existed when I started to dive into the science of it. And so that was actually my entry point, and then it just blossomed from there. I'm also a practicing witch, and so I started to play with this idea, like, I wonder how a ritual bath could actually be shaped sort of like the cauldron of your intentions, you know,
Sure.
when you go into a sacred space like that. And I started to play with it, and it was pretty mind-blowing, like what was happening, and how phenomenal the experiences were becoming. I mean, accessing the supernatural, you know, having experiences of like inner visions, um, you know, having a spiritual guide come and connect with me. You know, I mean, it was pretty wild. And so, yeah, this was definitely a good topic and a good fit for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, why do you think water specifically has such a deep spiritual significance across cultures?
I think it does because it is so ancient and it's so universal. You know, we all have access to it in some way, shape, or form. We depend on it for life. Our bodies are made up of water. And so, definite connections, um, ethno-religious connections across cultures. It has held a deep spiritual significance. It's ancient, goes all the way back to the Hammams in the Islam religion. It goes all the way through to Judaism with the mikvah. It is people have met communally in bathing spaces because that's how they cleanse themselves, and then they would join together in some type of a sacred practice. So it is water is seen been seen as a purification. You know, it's deeply ancient, and then also we have the nods to pagan practices, to water priests and priestesses who guard and protect our waterways. I mean, it holds such a phenomenal significance um, that isn't just linked to one particular, like, we can't really find the origin of it. It is so vast and so deep across cultures. So yeah.
You know, one thing that I find really interesting about water too, obviously, is not just the fact it's a life source and like every living creature craves it and needs it to survive. But what I find really fascinating also is the emotional impact that water tends to have on people. And speaking both from stories I've heard, but even from my own personal experience, you know, when I'm taking a shower, especially, or a bath, but typically I don't do baths, but usually a shower, you know, it kind of releases emotions that I don't expect to be released, you know. And I'm very strong-headed. I'm one of those who don't handle emotions well. I tend to keep them buried and pushed down, you know. Not healthy, everybody who's listening. Seek therapy. It's something I need to do. But, you know, when I step into a shower, it's like all of those things that have been pushing down is just, I can't. It's just the water pulls it out and releases it, which I think is just, you know, it's just, it's so much deeper than just the fact that it's a living well. You know, this is something that hits us in a much deeper spiritual, more emotional way also, you know. I mean, we even have like the idea of water, we use it kind of metaphorically. We talk about how emotions or pain, things like that, come in waves, and water is something that typically, you know, forms waves. So it's just really, really interesting to me that it's as broad as it is in terms of just what it's capable of. Now, one thing I do want to ask, though, because the book does say ritual baths. And so what I want to know is what really makes a bath a ritual versus just simply a relaxing soak?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the moment you step into a space, and I'm speaking specifically from like my practice as a witch, you know, the moment I step into a space, no matter where I am, if I'm in my room, if I'm in my kitchen, if I'm at my hearth, if I'm outside in nature, the moment you step into a space with a particular uh, energy, a set energy where your head and your heart are connected, and for an intention of some type of release or manifestation, or promoting an energy of some kind and drawing it to yourself. That's the moment it becomes a sacred space. And so whether you are someone who has a bath or not, and I would like to talk about like the fact that you don't need to have a tub. You don't have to own a tub. Maybe you're just a shower guy, or
Right.
maybe you have some way that you can basin bathe or focus on other bathing practices that don't require a tub. But the moment you step into that space, you are activating that sacred space and grounding yourself in it. And even the steps that in processes that you go to gather your tools and clear the space and prepare yourself mentally and spiritually to get into a bath, you are already beginning the ritual process. So it transforms it from just like a routine part of your life to something that is very sacred, and it's simple, but it's very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody's going to ask this question. How can somebody get started incorporating ritualistic baths into their daily or even weekly lives?
I feel like simple is best, and I really can't stress this enough. And it's stressed a lot in the book as well. To start small and expand outward. So if your thing is herbs, start with one. Pick something that's super relaxing, that makes you feel happy when you take it out of the bag and hold it in your hand and smell it. It relaxes you, it calms you. Start with one, start with an herb. If you like to have candles in your bathroom and in your bath ritual because you really connect with the element of fire, choose a candle color that really fires you up, lights you up, makes you feel happy. A yellow or a red or a pink candle burning can do a lot for a ritual bath. Also, prepare your space like you mean it. You know what I mean? Like we know what a lot of bathrooms look like. Okay, maybe not everybody's bathroom looks like my bathroom, but I have 4 people that live in my house, and so I need to go in there periodically and like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna clear and cleanse the space. I'm gonna declutter the space. Like I'm really preparing the space. So it's just really about preparation. It's about choosing 1 or 2 things that really light you up. If you're a crystals person, you're just starting to dabble in crystals, get yourself a clear quartz that you can drop in the water safely. Start simple. Start simple, get something, a basket or a container to kind of hold everything in so that you have a place you can tuck it away and it's easy to bring out. I think that sometimes in practices, ritual practices, I think sometimes people get really overwhelmed. Like if I don't figure out this big thing, with all the tools and the bells and the whistles, and I need to go and order all these herbs and salts and fancy things, you need nothing fancy to make this an effective part of your spiritual practice. So start really basic, start simple. I feel like I want to encourage salts for most people, some type of salts, because salt in itself is also extremely purifying as a substance, and it also grounds the energy. So like, let's say you're going into your bath with maybe some grief or some emotion, or you've just dealt with a breakup, or you want to bring in some protection. Going in with some salts in your bath, to me, serves a dual purpose. One, it's going to absolutely ground the energy that you're bringing into that practice and that craft and that sacred space. And also it's going to further help you kind of detox and kind of help remove or help release energy from your aura. And so those are really basic things. Do not overdo it. It's not necessary. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember my friend when she told me about it. She said the same thing. Keep it simple. She get yourself a bar of charcoal soap and start
Yep.
there. I was like,
Charcoal
all
soap.
right, let's see.
Charcoal soap is wonderful to work with. It's super, super purifying. Yeah, that's great. You just can feel a lot lighter. Also, like Dead Sea mineral salts. I
Mhm.
also like feel, because that ties in a little bit of the physical benefits as well. Like if you get a Dead Sea mineral salt, that's going to also infuse your body and put really good stuff, because your biggest organ is your skin. And so if the Dead Sea minerals are actually infusing your skin with all kinds of really good minerals, that's also going to give your body a boost. It's going to
Okay.
make you feel really, really good. So
Yeah. Now, for individuals who maybe kind of overthink things a little bit, I know you just said, "Hey, let's keep things simple," but especially coming from like someone like yourself who is a practicing witch,
mhm.
there obviously is a lot of meaning to various herbs and this idea of color theory, especially when it comes to candles and the type of color of candle you're using. How important is that in ritualistic baths, or is it something that's like, don't think so much about that in the beginning, just choose your favorite color, choose your favorite sense regardless of what it means?
So I would say I'm not quite on the level of just choose whatever you're drawn to,
Okay.
kind of. Although, I don't like to gatekeep. I'm not a gatekeeper for anybody's practice. Your practice is your practice. So you do you. But like also like the colors, the candles, or the herbs or and crystals do have, they do have meaning. So to me it's like, if you can find yourself, like, we don't have to be a purist, you don't have to do it by the book, but
Mhm.
if you can develop a little bit of some basic knowledge and understanding about how it works, or which colors and which stones, which herbs are a good fit, are a good match for a particular, let's say a particular Sabbath or a particular seasonal change of the seasons. So when I think about choosing your tools, for me a really basic and really simple entry point is also to think about grouping seasonal change times of year, and then
Okay.
gearing your herbs and your crystals around that. So like for let's say for example, we're past Mabon, we're into almost to Samhain now. And so this time of year is a darker time of year. We're going into some inward spaces. And so the herbs or flower essences, essential oils, whatever botanicals you want to work with that kind of correspond with a seasonal change can give you that framework that don't make it so overwhelming. Doesn't make it
Mhm.
so overwhelming. So you're not going in every time you have a bath, you're going, oh my gosh, what do I choose? Well, this time of year, great things to work with are mugwort. I mean, we are, it helps us cross the veil. It helps us really connect with our ancestors. So keeping it and framing it around the seasonal change is really helpful. Things like cornflower and marigold are great for prosperity, and those associate with this time of year as well. So like into the winter months, as we get into Imbolc, as we get into Yule and then Imbolc, we can lean on the more wintry herbs and plant friends like basil, bay leaf, rosemary, pine, even cedar,
Mhm.
and soothing things like milk thistle and chamomile. So like if you can kind of have a grouping of maybe a few that you work with um, at a seasonal change, and even keep it to like 4 times a year, these are the things that I'm going to kind of check in and then check in and see how you feel. Like, which one are you being drawn to?
Sure.
Like, I may not be feeling the coneflower, or I might not be feeling the mugwort today, but I might be feeling, the marigold today.
Mhm.
So feeling out like definitely feeling out like what you need as you develop a relationship with your bath practice. um, your body is going to start telling you what it wants and what it needs, and that's kind of where the magic happens, and that's where some of the intuition comes into play. So as you develop um, sort of a relationship with your bath practice and some longevity with it, you will find that there are times of year, times of the month that you want something different.
Mhm.
And also thinking about like your mood and how you're coming into the space, because this is very different than some other practices, other spiritual practices. Like, you have to do a check-in. You really have to check with yourself, like, where am I coming into this space right now? What do I need right now? you know whether or not it has to do with a seasonal thing, but where am I at right now? What I need something bright. I need something beautiful. I need my chamomile. I need my, I need my milk thistle. I need something soothing and nurturing. So once you know what you're coming in for and what you need, you can kind of better navigate like the tools and what you're going to bring into the space. And sometimes it's nothing. So I also want to like, I want your listeners to also know that like you can go into those spaces with yourself
Right.
and your emotions, your mind, your intentions, your heart, what's going on in your insides, and you can still come out feeling amazing,
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I find like one of the most simple ways to do one of those type of bathing rituals is to just stand in the water and envision whatever's bothering you, whatever's heavy on your shoulders,
Yes.
simply being washed away, and just imagine it rolling down your body and into the drain and
Yeah.
disappearing. And it's so much easier and it helps lighten you a bit. But then adding all the other stuff, of course, obviously has its place and its importance as you grow in your practice as well.
Yeah.
One follow-up question for you though regarding all of that. So
Yeah.
for people who are interested though in like understanding the meaning behind some of the items that they're going to use, some of the herbs, how important is it to actually cross-reference some of the descriptions of these items? Because a lot of people go online
Yeah.
and unfortunately like people go to Reddit a lot and there's a lot of misinformation, or Wikipedia. So
There's a
yeah. So what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that? And what's the best
I
practice?
really think it's a good idea to get a couple of compendiums,
Mm,
like witches compendiums or herbal compendiums. Also, because safety is definitely something you want to consider, when you're working with all of this. And you're right, there's a lot of mixed messages and misinformation. So, getting a couple of really good compendiums. I'm sorry, I don't have them up here. I'm looking at my bookshelf. Oh no, I changed my mind. I do. I do have one. Like a Encyclopedia of Magical Plants, for example. This is going to tell you the correspondences and it's going to give you some information about safety things you want to think about. Like, for example, heck yeah, I'm not going to toss eucalyptus or peppermint or, the spicier herbs. And even though I love using cinnamon for prosperity, it's not going anywhere near my skin, because it burns. And so, yeah, you definitely want to get familiar enough and with the cosmology of the plants, and also like how they work in our skin and how they transfer between the water and our bodies and how they feel. Do you know what I'm saying? And so like I don't think you can't not work with a cinnamon stick, but just put it in your tea and have a cup of tea handy while you're bathing and stir your little cinnamon stick for prosperity in your tea and drink it while you're soaking. Do you know? So like you can still like there's still a lot of flexibility, but yeah, I really feel like online's not the best route. Get yourself a good couple of compendiums that you can lean back on. Dog ear the pages, learn a little bit about what each of the herbs and crystals means, as a framework, just a basic framework, and then it becomes a passion, and then it's something that you can keep adding to as you go, and also like a grimoire, keeping a grimoire or a little notebook or a keeping track somewhere of like, hey, I did this ritual bath and like I had a vision and here's what was in it. Here's what went into the bath. And this like helps me, or it helped me relax. And like I suddenly something shifted and I felt like super refreshed, or I had an idea that hit me. And this was really creatively inspiring. Keep track of what you're using, because some things are going to work for you that don't work for other people, depending on your energy and how your energy engages with, the herbs and the tools that you bring in, the botanicals that you bring in. Yeah.
Okay. Now, something that Erik mentioned is intention when he's showering. How important is intention in this process, and how should someone set their intention before beginning?
Yeah, it is. I think it is really important to set an intention. And sometimes the intention is, this is a step in my day I got to get through. And I just need to get through and get in my shower. But like, other times somebody's going to come in with a little bit more. And so, yeah, I do feel like that initial legwork and really distinguishing like what is the most needed, because we also have to include that like there are other types of bath rituals. There are cold plunges, there are basin baths where you don't submerge your body, just your hands or your feet go in. There's moon bathing where you can sit outside and bathe under the moon. There's steam saunas, there's sound bathing. So like this is kind of the Pandora's box of practices that you can really craft and curate to meet your own needs. And so, yeah, I do think that self-reflection is going to help you be really particular about what you need. Like if I'm a crying mess and I'm dealing with something really deep and emotional, I am not going into the cold plunge. That's not going to feel good, but like if I'm dealing with some anxiety or I had a really intense day, the cold plunge is going to be the thing that just takes the edge off to bring me and pull me back into my body and get me grounded and help set my mind straight. You know what I mean? So like thinking about your intention and setting your intention to me is just as simple as writing it down. It's as simple as writing it down or creating a symbol and drawing it on your wrist, or taking some oils and herbs and salts and drawing a sigil on the bottom of your tub before you get in that represents something you're dealing with. Before you even run the water, like you can create a sigil that you can draw on your body or on the tub. And that's one of my favorites. And I've taught my kids how to do that as well, because they go to ritual baths when they are dealing with big things. So you can draw an infinity symbol if you want to work with prosperity. You can draw an infinity symbol in the water while you sit in the water. Take a little bag of herbs and just run it through the water or with your hands and draw the infinity symbol as you kind of focus your intentions. And water naturally helps you raise energy. And so when you get in the water or you're standing under the water, you can naturally work with that. And so I really think it's great for any practice, but in a ritual practice like this, to come in with some particular idea or intention, I think really helps the process. It focuses the energy and helps you get a lot more out of it.
Well, now, so with that said, and you had mentioned, bathing for like grief or even emotional blockages, but like, how does one, well, let me put it this way. It's very difficult for many people to really understand how to release their grief or even how to find a way through emotional blockages. So, how, in your opinion or in your experience, can someone maybe use ritual bathing to actually find a way to release that grief or find a way through those emotional blockages when it's just so hard on a daily basis to begin with?
Yeah, well, and one of the hardest things, of course, that we face as busy people and in a very unsteady, uncertain world right now is taking time to honor the grief that we experience. We are all dealing with some type of grief on a regular basis, and we don't have endless time to like just grapple or deal with those emotional spaces and what we're going through. And so, and setting that time aside, grief is one emotion that we can actually intentionally work with, and that we can actually transmute and help transform. Like we can actually go into spaces of grief. So when you get into a bath, let's say we choose some type of warming bath that has some herbs in it to help soothe our hearts. What happens is we relax our nervous systems. When our nervous system is relaxed, that's when we can start to surface the emotional oh gosh, components of what we've been dealing with that we've been stuffing or avoiding or resisting or just can't touch. Not everybody deals with emotion as easily, and so really providing yourself that space and saying, okay, for 15 minutes, I'm going to go in. If I have just like one release point, or if I give myself that space just to touch that grief, let myself think about it, let myself presence it. It's getting present in that grief space. Then I can have a moment of release. And the water is going to help. The tools are going to help release it for the moment that I'm in. Grief is a journey, it's a process. It's not like it's a one and done. That isn't how healing works. But we can give ourselves that space intentionally to deal with grief. Then when we're living our lives, if we don't want to go there, we don't want to turn towards it, we don't want to deal with it on a regular basis, we don't want, we want to preserve that time just for going into a grief space. That can be really super effective and super cleansing.
Mm-hmm. And it's really just building a safe space for you to do that. Some place you can be comfortable.
Totally a safe space. And also along that line, like not everybody is comfortable getting in the water. So I also want to say, like, you want to develop a ritual baths practice, but you aren't somebody who wants to take your clothes off and get in the water. You don't have to do that. Like, you can still use a bathtub. You can still use that sphere. Maybe you just dip your feet in, or you stay closed. So you can, like, they're so, like, I don't want everyone, and it's so cool to be talking to two men that are like, tell me about ritual baths, because I think, like, also, like, this isn't something that necessarily gets focused on, and I really, by men, and I appreciate that, like, this is for everyone. This is not just for, women or women of a certain age, or, you know what I mean? Or spiritual ladies. This is for everyone. And I feel like giving men a chance to touch their sensitive sides and really connect with their own hearts and really develop that as that healthy relationship with their masculinity. This can help a lot. Ritual bath can help a lot. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that, because I've never been a bath person. My wife always has been. So when I take a bath, it's the intention of grounding myself and trying to meditate and what have you over just sitting in a bath. She probably unintentionally does that as well when she bathes. But it is interesting that there is kind of that gap in between men and women too, that it's not as accepted that men like taking baths or should be taking a bath for ritualistic purposes, if nothing else. So
right on.
Now, I know my answer to this, but I really want to hear your perspective on it. Is do you think ritual baths can strengthen intuition or psychic awareness?
Yes. I'm so happy to talk about this, because holy cow, guys, if I could say, how many times I've been in a ritual bath experience, it's one place that my inner vision opens the most. And so if I'm like really seeking some guidance, something, that my relationship with my ritual bath, getting in there, relaxing my senses, really like tuning into my chakras, opening my energy fields, really getting in that space, it totally enhances. I instantly start to feel vibrational energy around my third eye and my crown chakra, and connecting. I've had whole conversations with guide energies or ancestors, and it's brought me back to my center and given me some direction forward. So it is not uncommon to find a deck of tarot cards also in my in my bathroom. My kids are like, what is going on?
Are they waterproof? Are they special waterproof kind?
We need waterproof.
Yes, we do.
Anybody that's listening to this that can get on that. So
We also need dog tear proof because my one dog tore up a deck of my cards.
Yes.
So that can't be. Well,
Tear proof. Those are going to be pricey cards, I have a feeling.
right.
But yeah, yes, I also have a dog. So yeah, so like it is a very natural gateway. Like, okay, so to be fair, like also around the world, it is honored that like cavernous spaces where there is water is like a portal. It's a gateway and to other dimensions, other realms. Crossing the veil is very easy when you are in that space because the element water connects us into those spaces a lot deeper. And so if you're somebody who enjoys going inward to connect, yeah, like I said, with guides or deities or connecting in with ancestral energies, you can channel energy. Water is such a beautiful conduit for spirit energy. And so it's a great space to build your psychic abilities for sure. And I can vouch for that. So
I can too. A mentor of mine actually had told me to start doing baths with sea salt specifically. I was in Nebraska, had COVID, but I also really wanted to use it as a way to ground myself and start connecting with my spirit guides because I have a hard time differentiating what's in my head. Is it spirit talking to me or is it me imagining spirit is talking to me?
yeah.
But she had said specifically sea salt over Epsom salt because it's a completely different chemical reaction.
Yes, that's accurate. That is very, very accurate. And like magnesium salts or sea salt, or excuse me, Epsom salts, yeah, very different function than something like that's a pure salt that can actually, it does serve the purpose to help open up your senses, your psychic senses. Yeah, extrasensory perception can happen in those spaces quite easily. And then toss in a amethyst or a clear quartz crystal or some herbs or oils that can help build that, some mugwort. Oh yeah, heck yeah. Getting a little tea bag running under your faucet that has some herbs that can also really relax and help you lean into your third eye, into your psychic senses. I'm all about the mugwort, bay leaves. Those are great for helping enhance your psychic vision.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do want to add and get your thought on it too. But so I'm not one who has ever used ritual bathing in this sense and actually getting into a bath or a shower to build or strengthen intuition or psychic awareness. However, one thing that I do often is
That doo-doo.
That happens in the bathroom
come on.
too.
I was trying to think like how can I get around saying this twice, but I couldn't. And so, okay.
I had to throw in a potty joke because we're in the bathroom anyway.
Okay. Bring it back.
How to even recover from that
right. What I happen to do is a meditation in which I envision starlight shining down over my head, and that starlight turns into a shimmery kind of liquid that washes down over the top of me and gathers around my body and at my feet. And then I meditate on the puddle that's at my feet, which to me is like this black, almost like sparkly. It's not oily, but it's I don't know, to me it's just like dark black, but it's like reflective and it's got these sparkles in it, and it allows me to kind of see my shadow self while also looking into various spirit guides and asking questions and learning about things that I'm trying to, gain insight on. So what is your thought on doing a meditation like that as opposed to simply physically being in a bath or doing like moonlight bathing or things like that?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm very envious. That should have gone in the book. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I knew you back when, because that should have been an exercise to go in the book. But like,
that can be an addendum.
An addendum. We'll add it. The next printing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Credit to you. So, but seriously, like, that is a fabulous example of something that can be done anywhere, not just in the presence of water. So, like, in a meditation space, you absolutely can create a connection with the element of water, or like a bath of light, or like a do that, even that visualization while you're sitting under the moon and connecting in with the moon's energy. And so connecting in with moon energy is incredibly cleansing. It's incredibly sustaining and purifying. And so I absolutely agree with that. Incorporating that, and even in your bath or in your shower, or if you are fortunate enough to stand under a waterfall, even if not, though, if you're somewhere and you need a cleansing process and there's no water around or nothing else in sight, you can still do some type of cleansing process and you can use that. And I love the imagery of having that pool under your feet, that connects you between the bridge of the earth and your feet, and that can bring in earth energy and help ground you and help you can like release the energy into that puddle that you want to release and have it slowly sink into the earth safely. I mean, you could go in multiple different directions with that, but I think that's a fantastic suggestion.
Awesome.
Now, what would you say to people who think they don't have time for ritual baths?
Well, you know, 10 minutes. You got 10 minutes. You know, like here's the thing with even a foot bath or a basin bath. You can keep some of your basin bath or a cauldron with energy in it, with herbs, with oils, and so on and so forth. You can keep that and move it from room to room and dip your hands in it. That doesn't take more than 5 minutes. Set your intention, ground your body, and set your intentions and put your hands or your feet into a basin. I mean, so I get it. We are all super busy people, and you don't have to make this an hour long or 2 hour long process. I don't actually advise that. I think it's a little tough and a little hard on our skin sometimes to go that long, but I'm serious, like 5 to 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes, just get in, set your intentions, do your meditation, connect with the energy of the water, breathe, release, boom, you're done. And so keeping it simple, saving maybe a once a month full moon bath, that's a little bit longer, but keeping the rest of your practice short or simple, I think that's perfect. And like tonight, for example, I will maybe shower and head out to my cold plunge before I go to bed. I have an abundance of joyful energy today, but I'm going to need to bring the adrenaline down. And so the cold plunge will help me do that. I'll give thanks to the sky, to the moon, for being able to talk to you and having a really good day. And that's it. It's literally under a minute that I'll spend out there just thanking the cosmos, thanking the moon. So I appreciate that, and I empathize with the time element that is involved in any kind of craft or practice. But you work it into your routines, and suddenly it starts to become a little bit of a habit. So maybe you have a weekly ritual on Sunday afternoon. Nobody gets into the bathroom. You lock the door and you have your ritual space to do your thing, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, one other thing I'd like to add that I personally do, and that I personally enjoy, and it's not so much bathing per se, but it's still using, like, I call it elemental meditation, and it's basically using things like water or fire. And for me, the fire element, I'm very much associated with. It's one of my, and so what I'll do is I'll light a candle and I'll just hold it somewhat close, maybe a foot away from me, maybe a little closer, and just stare at the flame and just focus on the flame. And you do the same thing with water. You fill up a bowl or, a basin or something, and you just watch it and you look at the ripples in the water, the reflection, the movements as it, and you just try to clear your mind and focus on what's happening. And you kind of like build this connection with the element that you're holding in your hand. And it helps you to kind of recenter yourself and even ground yourself in that particular element. And it's not, obviously it's not bathing, but for people who don't like to get wet necessarily, or, put their hands in the water, if I pick up a bowl or, fill a bowl with water and put it on my table, My cat's dipping his paws in there and it's going everywhere, right? So I can't do that because he's like, "Oh, this is a game." I said, "No, we can't do this." But for people who don't like who don't have the time and they don't want to get wet or they things like that, but they want to find a way to center themselves. I do think that doing some sort of elemental meditation, even going outside and watching or looking out your window, watch the trees, the leaves move back and forth, and you see and focus on the movements that are happening. You start to kind of connect and center yourself to the earth and the elements that your body's made up of.
And also, like, when you were talking, it also made me think of like what it's like to sit, like we have all this amazing technology, we have apps, we have meditation apps, we have also like crystal bowl healing meditations, crystal bowl or sound bathing is just as relevant a form of bathing. And so you want to lay on your bed and put your noise canceling headphones on and listen to the gongs or sound bowls, or excuse me, singing bowls. And you lay there and you imagine those waves going over your body. You are doing your chakras and your aura some major justice by allowing yourself to tap into that. So yeah, whether it's sound vibrations and then lighting a candle and doing some candle gazing to connect with the fire element, especially if you need some energy and you're feeling drained.
Right.
That's a really good strategy and a really good way to combine. I like where you're going with this. Or if you need some grounding, you are pulling out your grounding crystals and stones, and or clearing crystals and stones. You need a good crystal clearing. You're drawing forward your hematite, or you're pulling some rose quartz around you to clear the energy from the day, and you can hold that or put it on your body while you're listening to the sound. Vibrations rolling over your body, imagining all of that clearing energy. Oh my gosh, you can see that it, like, I don't want to overwhelm people, but like there's so many ways that you can utilize this because it's so versatile, and it
Right.
does just have to be a tub.
For sure. And I also I keep adding. But for those like who because the fire element is like so prominent for me, like for those of you listening who are associated yourselves with the fire element, one of my favorite crystals or stones is obsidian, black obsidian. And especially like I have a little pendant, a pretty big pendant actually, that I wear. And once it's like at your chest, you can just feel it pulling that energy out, and it's like a deep emotional change. It's heavy, I'll admit, at times, but it's so good for people who are associated with the fire element, or who just want that strong energy to help again ground and clear them their emotions and that heavy burdens that they have on their shoulders.
Well, and a good way to like focus on which crystals or stones, gemstones you might want to work with is to even associate it with your zodiac signs. So like, if you know what your sign is, you can actually pick some stones and crystals that are really good fit. So like the air signs, for example, I'm probably going to lean more towards like a smoky quartz or a black tourmaline, or obsidian, because of the scattered energy that comes along with people that have a lot of air in their charts. Sure. Watery folks, I'm gonna lean towards something that is a even similar, but super grounding, but also like clear quartz, so it doesn't overwhelm their energy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you're somebody who's really super watery and sensitive, you want to pick the stones and crystals that are going to work with your energy and not add to what you're trying to kind of release or calm. Sure. So calming stones and crystals, if you're fiery energy, and you feel like you need to tamp that, or it just is kind of gets a little wild, your energy gets a little wild at times, or you're super busy or feeling burnt out, you want calming stones, you want an aventurine or an amethyst to calm and soothe. So like this is also like another entry point, is to think about just to think about your zodiac sign, and like it can help give you enough like options to begin with, and then you can start developing a little bit of a relationship with those tools and decipher whether or not, like you said, when I put that obsidian on me, I can feel it pulling the energy. If you're sensitive and you feel that, you're going to know if you need to pivot if it's too much and you
Right.
need to choose something. So like part of ritual bath practices is experimentation and a willingness to try stuff until you
Right.
can get it. So there's nothing that needs to be perfect about any of this. And it's a holy mess at times because you got the flowers floating in the thing. So like good strainers and drain,
Sure.
keep your plumbing happy by putting a good strainer in your tub. Yeah, stuff like that.
Okay. I have another follow-up question. Sorry,
Yeah.
Justin. I keep I know Justin's ready to ask some questions too, but I'm just like, I need more. Hold on. So you have been talking a lot about crystals and using stones in your practice. What is the importance then when you're using them on a daily basis or near daily basis to actually take the time to cleanse those stones, as some of them tend to build energy? And is it even important if you're using it in bath rituals, since water tends to be a cleanser for stones, especially running water in particular?
Yeah, well, and another part of that is really knowing your stones and crystals, because some of them absolutely cannot go in salt
Right, just
water,
hate it.
otherwise they're going to disintegrate, start to disintegrate. So know your crystals and stones well, and know whether or not they actually should go in the water. But in other words, like you can also balance them outside and around the tub. You don't even have to put them in the water. There's lots of different ways to work with them. If you want to just hold it in your hand and project some intention while it runs under the water and then set it aside. Did that answer your question? I think I actually just got lost.
It was, yeah. I mean, it's how do you cleanse a
Quick.
stone after it's already?
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
okay, let's say you've bathed with it. Absolutely 100% it's soaking up your energy. It's connecting with your energy. So you want to have a regular practice of cleansing. And the simplest, the most basic is to put your crystals out on a window ledge under the moon, especially the full moon, to kind of cleanse and clear. Give them breaks. I also have had the experiences of fracturing stones or rocks that I work with. And I feel like if something fractures or breaks, that is a signal that it's done. It's done its work.
Okay.
It's done what it was supposed to do. It helped absorb some type of energy. It sort of took one for the team. So like rotate out.
Sure.
Don't if it's possible to develop a relationship with your tools, like they're there for a particular reason and purpose, and then sometimes it's time for them to move along. And if something happens to a crystal or a stone, or you lose it, which happens a lot, it's just done. Don't go ravaging through everything to try to find them. But yeah, cleansing them is really important, because even though they're going to be sitting in salt water or in a bath with you, they're still absorbing and working with your energy. So they do need a break. They need to breathe. They need to be treated well. They need to have a bath under the moon, or their own separate salt bath to clear and cleanse their own energy. Yeah, I would give that. I would definitely do that periodically.
Okay. 2-part question. So first and foremost, in terms of breaking stones, how, like, I get the idea if something breaks, whatever way, whether it's dropped or it's like, it's just worked through its life, if you will. Would you feel the same way if you have a cat who is very particular on pushing things off of shelves and breaks stones? Because I have a broken stone that he's just like, nope.
Yes, I do, because I think our animals, they're familiar.
They know.
They're our little spiritual beings, and they work with us, So if that's happening, I mean, sometimes they're just rascals, but like if they know and can sense, I think animals are so way more sensitive to energy than we are. And if something's done and they, or they hide something, I would trust that. Sometimes the message is that it's time to move that tool along, and your little guide or being was helping you out. Your little ally was helping you out to kind of deliver that message to you that you're done. That's not your tool anymore. It's time to replace it, or expand your horizons and get something else to work with. Yeah.
So second part here, you did mention using moonlight, lunar energy, basically to cleanse stones, some people might be like, "Oh, well, that's just solar energy reflecting off of the moon. So what if we just throw our stones into direct sunlight? Is that effective? And could
Hey,
it be a problem for your
like
stones?"
again, I'm sort of like, again, I like to come into these spaces being like, I'm not gonna gatekeep everybody's,
Sure.
and there's no tried and true, um, the if you think about the energy of the sun versus the energy of the moon and the bright heat that can, I mean, would you like to sit out in the sun yourself,
Right.
and absorb all of that heat and the intensity of the sun's energy versus sitting out under the moon, which is gentle, nurturing, flowing energy, also equally powerful.
Right.
So I feel like like some of these things are just like kind of common sense where you ask yourself, like, what kind of energy do I want to give the tools that I work with, And if
Right.
it feels right that it needs to be sun, like I need to infuse these tools with some sun, like really powerful daylight and energy of the sun, which is really energizing, go for it, but just be mindful that they're also like us, there is a limit and there is a point at which too much of a good thing can be too much of a good thing, and
Right.
so it is it to take great care around just thinking, being conscious of what you're doing. But no, I mean, I work with some people that only connect with the sun, they don't connect with
Hmm.
the moon. And so if that's what you want to do and you want to actually infuse your tools with sun's energy, absolutely 100% go for it. But just know that they're sensitive too,
Right.
they have limits too.
Right. And I do want to add too, like, if you are using like sunlight, solar, pure solar energy, you don't want to keep it, your stone sitting in the sun nearly as long as you might keep it in moonlight,
Yep.
because some stones can be affected by UV rays. It could change the properties and the color and things like that. So that is something to be, concerned about and just consider when you're working with your stones.
Right on.
Can I go now?
Yeah, sorry.
Um, something that this is a interesting question for you to answer because I'm really intrigued by what you're going to say. Can ritual baths be part of a couple's or even group's spiritual practice, or are they best done alone?
Oh my gosh. Well, communal bathing practices have been done for, oh my gosh, that's ancient. That's ancient. That's as old as time. But so like communal bathing, there are places around the world where you can actually enter into it. Actually, we have a place in Minneapolis called Watershed, and I got to meet the owner of this spa. And her name is Nell Ruckel, and um, her background is in communal bath. And so, like, coming together in those kinds of spaces is incredibly healing. Coming together, hot springs or I mean, lakes are communal bathing experiences, and so sometimes you can meet people and connect people in those with people in those spaces. So you absolutely can go in with a group mentality and with an intention to like form a different bond together and have an experience together that can be really invigorating and also really cleansing and purifying. And so those shared processes are really special if that's something that you want to check out. I really encourage trying a communal bathing space. It's phenomenal. Um, else outside of that, connecting with in your couplehood, there's a few things I have to say about that. It is ritual bathing together can be incredibly healing for a couple. And also, there is something known as sex magic that can also be intensified and enhanced through um, the journey of connecting with the water element and using that as a conduit for the intentions that the couple wants to bring to their relationship for healing, for cleansing, also releasing, and also bonding in those spaces in really intimate, vulnerable ways. So, oh heck yeah, I have to say that always practice with consent so that everybody is on the same page, whether you're in a group or whether you're with your person, you want to have consent. You want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, because there is just like any kind of intimate space that you enter into. Water touches us on really deep emotional and spiritual levels, and we can get really super vulnerable in those spaces. And so having everybody kind of prepared, when are we done? What is the signal when this needs to end? Or when, what are we trying to get out of this, so we're both on the same page. So I don't advocate for people like surprising people with those kinds of experiences. Make sure that everybody gets a chance to be on the same page and just talk it out. And it's a wonderful experience to have, in a group or with your person.
Okay, so I know you have a lot of this stuff in your book, but for those interested in diving deeper, what is the best way for people who have your book or who are about to purchase it to really approach it? Is it front to back you should read it, or is it more intuitively picking baths that call to them? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Okay, my thoughts on it are, and this is usually this is my third published book. They're almost always, the format is almost always the same. I always advocate that you get through the introduction in the first few chapters, because that's going to prepare you with some context. Yeah. And especially with ritual baths, there's a whole section on safety. There's a whole section on like preparing yourself, your mind, your body for a ritual bath experience, to set yourself up well. But then after that, oh my gosh, bounce around. There's a little index that has all the exercises in the bath. So like you can jump to the meditation ritual bath. You can jump to the, you know what I mean? Like the psychic bath. You can jump to, there's a witch's bath if you want to just do that one. So like get yourself through the first 3 or 4 chapters first. And then if something doesn't appeal to you, and about it, some of the chapters, like not ancestral veneration isn't for everyone. Not everyone's going to use a bath for grief processing, but maybe they are really digging the psychic development chapter, or bathing with the zodiac, or bathing with the moon. And so, yeah, you can absolutely dog ear, write in the book, underline, highlight your favorite things. But yeah.
All right.
Just start at the beginning first.
Well, that's how you have to start every book. You have to start at the beginning. If you skip to the middle of a fictional book, you've missed part of the entire story.
I mean, it's like starting life in the middle. If you're just born and boom, you're 30 years old. It's like, wait, what do I do? What's...
Trouble. I missed a whole lot. Yeah.
Not to mention, you've just damaged your mom pretty well.
That's fair.
Yeah. Didn't cross my mind, that part.
All right, Chanda, it's been a blast talking to you, but we are getting close to the end of the show. So I want to give the mic to you and tell everybody where they can find your book, find all of your other work, how they can connect with you. The mic's all yours.
Thank you. The best way to get to know what's coming up, what I have available, is my website. So that's my first and last name.com, Chanda Parkinson, CHANDA, like panda, Parkinson, PARKINSON.com. I have a YouTube channel, so you can find me on the web there. You can connect with me on Facebook. You can also connect with me on Instagram. And so those spaces are the best way to find what's coming up. All my books are there. Tons and tons of freebie stuff. I've done other podcasts, and I've written articles, and there's other books available. So yeah, that's the best way to find out what I'm up to. And I love having coffee dates with people virtually. So like if that's your thing and you want to talk to me about ritual baths or anything else that is interesting to you in the psychic realm or spiritual realm, set up a virtual coffee date with me. That's no charge, and we can just get to know each other.
Awesome.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
And I may have to take you up on that, because, I have a couple mentors, but I feel like adding another one would be beneficial. So
that would be fun. I would love that. I would love to get to know, this is my first time meeting you both, so I would love to get to know each of you. And this has been a really fun, warm, and engaging conversation. I'm super appreciative. Thank you.
Good. Awesome. And we appreciate you too. This has been great.
Thank you so much. And thanks for being on ParaTruth Radio.
My pleasure. You all have a great night.
You
You
too.
too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, folks, that was Chanda Parkinson, author of the book of Ritual Baths. There it is once again for you. Great conversation. I wasn't expecting her to pop off right away, but for those of you that want to check her out, if you want, you can go to her website or llewellyn.com, and I'm sure you can find it pretty much everywhere. And so, yeah, what are some of your final thoughts on ritualistic bath?
I mean, it's beneficial. I think it's very beneficial. I think people should absolutely give it a try. I've done it and I do it pretty regularly, especially when I'm going through heavy times in my life. You and I have talked about it personally, but we've also discussed it a bit on air here. This past year for me personally has been pretty rough. 2025 has been a tough one. So, I've spent a lot of time just sitting in the shower. And mind you, like when I take a shower, I say I don't take many baths, and I don't. I haven't taken one in a while. But when I take a shower, I'm typically not just standing in it. When I do a shower, I sit down on the ground on the tub floor, right? I just let that water beat on me. Honestly, one of my favorite things I tend to do now is more of a what do you call it? Like a physical therapy. Basically, I have a comb in there. I would just comb my hair. It depends, something a little light, something a little rougher on my scalp, just to like get that feeling, move some of that energy and that water across my scalp. I do this thing called muscle scraping. Basically, you use like this plastic or there's various stoneware where you kind of just rub the muscle down with these objects, and you kind of help scrape away tension and release toxins from the muscles, which can sometimes it bruises, not in a bad way. It's not painful by any means, but the bruising comes from releasing those toxins in the muscles that build up over time, especially when you're working regularly, physically. I mean, like doing physical work and you're not, maybe you're not working out regularly or you're not getting massages, that stuff builds up. So, those are things that I do literally on a daily basis. And just that alone helps me to kind of like ground my mind in the here and now, and like doing the scraping, brush, combing my hair and stuff. Just the feeling of it tends to help me focus in on something other than all the things that seem to be going wrong in life. And not to say that this year and life in general sucks. That's not the case by any means. Lots of ups. But we all know that those heavy times tend to be a lot heavier than the good,
Absolutely.
So it is, yeah, it's very important. And like we shared here on the show, you don't have to necessarily be in a bath or take a shower to do this. You can do various types of meditation, whether it's, flame meditation, water meditation, sitting out in the moonlight, any type of thing like that. Water, though, especially is very prominent in releasing emotions. I mean, a lot of people around the world listening right now probably recognize the type of feeling that you have versus a day full of sun and a day full of rain, right? And rain tends to bring out the emotions that are typically buried. Maybe we're a little more depressed. Maybe, we tend to cry a bit more. For some, maybe it releases you. You're joyful. You love rain, and it's just the way that water tends to work with the individual. So yeah, I think this is all very important. And I think it's important for everybody to do some sort of meditation, not even just, ritualistic baths, but just in general to help ground yourself, kind of experience a little bit of a emotional and spiritual stability and learn about yourself.
Yeah. No, I agreed 100%. It's funny you mentioned the muscle scraping thing. I mean, that's kind of a massage technique, especially with stones. The sad part is I can't excuse me, just sit down to meditate anymore. So when I'm going to do a meditational bath, that's literally what I'm using it for.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, other than there's so much stimulation around, period, that just sitting, I can't get my mind to stop.
No, I
Where
feel it.
that bath, that hot bath specifically, you're letting all of that tension melt away physically, so it helps the mental part too.
100%.
So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's episode. It's one that, like I said, hit near and dear to my heart because I have started using ritual baths for a while now, but I've made it an intention to do it at least once a week. Um, so if you could create your own ritual bath tonight, what intention would you set? Peace, love, protection, something else altogether? Get in on the conversation. Drop uh, your answer in the comments, or we have just recently created the ParaTruthers community, a Facebook group. If you are on Facebook and follow us, get into the group. Tell us what you think as well. Just mention the episode you're talking about so we know what you're referencing.
Right.
Um,
And just sorry, also regarding that group, it is an open group. So you don't necessarily have to follow us to be a part of
oh,
the
right,
group.
right.
And so we will have that link also here on Spotify, pretty much anywhere you can find these podcasts. You can click that and, pop on in, join us, and let's continue the conversation.
100%. Yeah. Um, yeah. So trying to think, we've got gosh, what's his name, Jason Offit, next week, and after that we're going to be getting into Thanksgiving mode, so
Mm-hmm.
stay tuned to all those episodes coming up.
You said Thanksgiving mode, and immediately my phone just popped up with a notification saying, "Hey, Thanksgiving episode recording this day." Weird.
All right, well, coincidence has happened, but so do actual messages too.
Right.
So until next week, folks. Again, this has been a pre-recorded show on 107.7 FM New Orleans, 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and United Public Radio Network. Like, share, subscribe wherever you're at. But until next week, where you'll find us same time, same channel. My name is Justin.
And I'm Eric. Peace.